Imagine a typical American high school. The hallways are crowded, the classrooms buzzing. But look closer. Alex, a bright student, feels lost in the system. He's overwhelmed by standardized tests and disengaged from the material. He's not alone. Across the country, students, teachers, and parents are grappling with a stark reality. The American education system is failing. For decades, the United States has prided itself on providing quality education. Yet, the evidence suggests otherwise. American students lag behind their international peers in core subjects. The achievement gap between socioeconomic groups remains wide. Equal opportunity for all seems out of reach. This essay delves into the challenges plaguing American education. From teacher shortages and inadequate funding to outdated curriculums and the lingering impacts of the pandemic, the issues are multifaceted. By examining these problems and comparing the U.S. system to global models, this essay aims to shed light on the urgent need for reform. Ultimately, the goal is not just to critique, but to inspire action. By highlighting potential solutions and emphasizing the collective responsibility we share in shaping the future of education, this essay offers a glimmer of hope. The path forward requires a fundamental shift in priorities, a renewed commitment to equity, and a willingness to embrace innovative approaches that prioritize the needs of all learners. The failings of the U.S. education system become glaringly apparent when compared to its global counterparts. International standardized tests, like the Program for International Student Assessment, provide a stark reality check. While American students once led the world in educational attainment, they now find themselves outpaced by their peers in numerous developed nations. Countries like Finland, South Korea, and Singapore consistently rank among the top performers in these assessments. These nations share several key characteristics that contribute to their success. They prioritize early childhood education, ensuring that children enter school with a strong foundation for learning. They invest heavily in teacher training and professional development, attracting and retaining highly qualified educators, and they foster a culture that values education, recognizing its importance for individual and societal progress. In contrast, the U.S. system often falls short in these areas. Early childhood education remains fragmented and inaccessible to many. Teacher salaries are often uncompetitive, leading to shortages and high turnover rates. And the societal emphasis on standardized testing and narrow measures of achievement can stifle creativity, critical thinking, and a love of learning. The stark contrast between the U.S. and these high-performing systems underscores the need for a fundamental reevaluation of priorities and approaches. At the heart of a thriving education system lies a dedicated and qualified teaching force. Yet the U.S. is facing a growing crisis in teacher recruitment and retention. Across the country, schools are struggling to fill vacancies, particularly in high-need areas like math, science, and special education. The reasons for this shortage are complex and interconnected. Low salaries, inadequate benefits, and challenging working conditions have made the teaching profession less appealing. The COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated these issues, leading to increased burnout and early retirements. Furthermore, the lack of respect and support for educators from policymakers and some segments of society has further demoralized the profession. The consequences of this teacher shortage are dire. Larger class sizes, fewer course offerings, and a decline in the quality of instruction are just some of the immediate impacts. In the long term, this crisis threatens to undermine the very foundation of the American education system. Without a concerted effort to address the root causes of teacher dissatisfaction and to elevate the teaching profession, the future of education in the United States remains bleak. The American ideal of equal opportunity for all rings hollow in the face of stark funding disparities within the education system. A student's zip code often determines the quality of education they receive. Schools in affluent communities benefit from robust property tax bases. In contrast, schools in low-income neighborhoods struggle with inadequate resources. They may lack updated textbooks, technology, and even basic supplies. Teachers may be inexperienced or under-supported, and students may have limited access to enrichment programs and essential supports. This funding gap perpetuates a cycle of inequality, limiting the life chances of millions of children. Addressing this injustice requires a fundamental shift in how education is funded. Reliance on local property taxes has created and exacerbated disparities. State and federal governments must ensure equitable funding for all schools. Investing in early childhood education and teacher quality in high-need schools is a sound economic investment. While the world around us rapidly evolves, the curriculum in many American classrooms remains stuck in the past. The traditional model of education, with its emphasis on rote memorization, standardized testing, and passive learning, is failing to prepare students for the demands of the 21st century. The modern workplace demands critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and adaptability, skills often neglected in a system focused on narrow measures of academic achievement. Furthermore, the curriculum often fails to engage students' interests or connect learning to real-world issues. This disconnect can lead to disengagement, apathy, and a lack of motivation. To remain relevant and effective, the American education system must embrace a more holistic and future-focused approach to curriculum development. This includes integrating technology meaningfully, promoting project-based learning, encouraging critical thinking and problem-solving, and fostering creativity and innovation. By equipping students with the skills and knowledge they need to thrive in a rapidly changing world, we can ensure that they are prepared not just for standardized tests, but for lifelong success. The COVID-19 pandemic caused unprecedented disruptions to education systems worldwide. In the United States, the sudden shift to remote learning exposed and exacerbated existing inequities. While some students had access to reliable internet, technology, and supportive home environments, many others lacked these essential resources. The consequences of these disparities have been profound. Students without adequate support during remote learning experienced significant learning loss, widening the achievement gap. The social and emotional well-being of many students also suffered during this period of isolation and uncertainty. As schools reopen and attempt to return to a semblance of normalcy, the long-term impacts of the pandemic continue to unfold. Addressing learning loss, providing mental health support, and ensuring that all students have the resources they need to succeed must be top priorities for educators and policymakers. The pandemic served as a stark reminder of the fragility of the education system and the urgent need to create more resilient and equitable learning environments for all students. Climate change poses a significant and growing threat to education systems worldwide. From extreme weather events that damage school infrastructure to rising sea levels that displace communities, the impacts of climate change are already being felt in classrooms across the country. Furthermore, the social and economic consequences of climate change, such as increased poverty and migration, can disrupt education by forcing families to relocate or withdraw children from school. The urgency of the climate crisis demands that education systems adapt and respond. This includes not only preparing students to address the challenges of a changing climate, but also ensuring that schools themselves are resilient to its impacts. Integrating climate change education into the curriculum across all subjects is essential. Students need to understand the science of climate change, its potential consequences, and the actions they can take to mitigate its effects. Furthermore, schools should serve as models of sustainability, adopting energy-efficient practices, promoting conservation, and fostering environmental stewardship among students. By equipping future generations with the knowledge, skills, and values to address climate change, we can empower them to create a more sustainable and just future. The challenges facing the American education system are significant but not insurmountable. Across the country, educators, policymakers, and communities are working to implement innovative solutions and create more equitable and effective learning environments. One promising trend is the growing movement towards personalized learning. This approach tailors education to the individual needs, interests, and learning styles of each student. Technology can play a powerful role in personalized learning by providing students with individualized learning paths, adaptive assessments, and access to a wealth of digital resources. Another area of innovation is the focus on social-emotional learning, or SEL. SEL programs help students develop essential skills like self-awareness, empathy, relationship building, and responsible decision-making. By integrating SEL into the curriculum, schools can create a more supportive and inclusive learning environment that promotes the well-being of all students. Furthermore, there is a growing recognition of the importance of early childhood education. Investing in high-quality pre-K programs can provide children with a strong foundation for future learning, reduce achievement gaps, and yield long-term benefits for individuals and society. By prioritizing early childhood education, we can set children on a path towards success from the very beginning. The future of American education depends on a collective commitment to change. It requires acknowledging the systemic inequities that plague the system, addressing the root causes of teacher shortages, and embracing innovative approaches that prioritize the needs of all learners. Parents and communities must play an active role in advocating for their children's education. This includes engaging with school boards, supporting local schools, and demanding accountability from elected officials. Teachers must be empowered to lead, innovate, and create engaging learning experiences for their students. And policymakers must prioritize education funding, enact policies that support teachers, and create a regulatory environment that fosters innovation and equity. The task ahead is daunting, but the stakes are too high to ignore. The future of the nation, the strength of the economy, and the well-being of future generations depend on the quality of education provided to all children. By working together, embracing a shared vision for a more just and equitable education system, and never losing sight of the transformative power of learning, we can create a brighter future for all.